Welcome back to another daily reflection. I'm Brandon Forshino, and it is so great to have you here. Today's first reading makes me ponder the question that I had before I even became Catholic, the same question that many Protestants still have and point to when they think about why we as Catholics celebrate the sacrifice of the Mass each day. Why do we need the Mass when today's first reading obviously states that there is no need for a sin offering? After all, the author in today's first reading specifically highlights and points out the contrast between offering the sacrifices day after day and how Jesus' sacrifice has paid for that sin once and for all. So then why do we need the Mass? See, today's first reading actually affirms and confirms what we believe about the Mass, as opposed to contradicting it. We find the answer to this question in verse 25 of today's first reading. Our author says, therefore. Well, therefore what? Because Jesus remains forever, has a priesthood that does not pass away. Therefore, he is always, keyword, always able to save those who approach God through him, since he lives forever to make intercessions for them. You see, what we understand is that the sacrifice of the Mass is our participation anew in Christ's one continuing sacrifice. We see this beautiful picture of Christ being seated at the right hand of God, there where he is a minister of the heavenly sanctuary, the minister of the true tabernacle. And when we approach the Mass, this is what we are celebrating. That in that moment of the Mass, we are participating in true heavenly worship. And there Jesus Christ ministers to you and I. And this is done through the bread and wine. This is my body, this is my blood, taken up for you. And when we receive this, Jesus says, as often as we do this in memory of me. We remember his sacrifice once and for all. And we also remember that where he is seated at the right hand of the Father, in majesty, there he continues to make an intercession for you and me. Now, when we turn to today's gospel, I want you to imagine with me for a moment that you're one of Jesus' disciples following him to the Sea of Galilee. First and foremost, let's think about the significance of the Sea of Galilee and some of the most amazing miracles and events that took place at that very center point. It is here where Jesus gave and delivered this Sermon on the Mount. It is also here where we read about Jesus walking on the water, where Jesus calms the storm, where Jesus feeds the masses, where John the Baptist baptized Jesus, and where God appears saying, "This is my Son." It is here where Jesus recruited his first apostles. And it is here where Jesus appears post-resurrection. So in today's gospel, we're brought to the scene of the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus and his disciples are approaching, where they are being pursued by so many different people from so many different areas of origin. From the north and from the south, if you were to look at a map, we can see how all of these locations of people, they are pressing in toward the center point, which is the Sea of Galilee. Crowds have gathered, so many that Jesus was afraid that they were going to crush him. To me, there's no greater modern day illustration of what we find in today's gospel, the mercy of Jesus, than what we experience when we come to the Mass. For me and my parish, I am blessed to come into the Mass with such a cultural and diverse background. Albanians, the Burmese community, Latin Americans, African Americans. This is essentially what we see when we come to the Mass, is people from all over coming to Jesus, coming for his mercy, coming for healing. And Jesus, because of his eternal and everlasting priesthood, and because of his position at the right hand of the God the Father, interceding for us today, gives us this amazing offering His body and blood. And we, His people, when we come to Mass, are like those people in today's gospel who come from all areas, all walks of life, with all of our own unique infirmities, diseases, sicknesses, and needs. And the God of mercy, through His Son Jesus Christ, is there, being sacrificed at the altar for you and me. Next time you go to Mass, take a look around you. What do you see? Why are you there? What is it that you're bringing to Jesus? He is mercy. He is love. Thanks again for tuning in for another daily reflection. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Until then, God bless.